Hi, I'm Dr. Nicole Hewitt here at Dr. Nick Medicine Woman. Today I want to discuss dysautonomia, what it is, how it's diagnosed, and some things that I have found that have helped me to either control symptoms or some things to completely eliminate and to really get my life back in a way that I never thought I would be able to. So, what is dysautonomia? Dysautonomia is a dysregulation of the autonomic nervous system. Autonomic is just a fancy word that means automatic. So all of the automatic functions in our body, 95% of all of our body functions are controlled by the autonomic nervous system. So that's breathing. We don't have to think about breathing. We don't have to think about our kidneys filtering urine. We don't have to think about our digestive system digesting food, or our blood pressure regulating, or our heart beating. These things just happen automatically because our autonomic nervous system is controlling them. So with dysautonomia, having a dysfunction in our autonomic nervous system, one of the most common things that people deal with is something called POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. And this is when somebody has been sitting and they stand up and they get lightheaded, they get dizzy, or they might even black out because their blood pressure lowers. So orthostatic hypotension, all that means is when you stand up, your blood pressure falls. And when your blood pressure falls, then your blood can't get pumped to your head, and so you get dizzy. It's kind of like a water tower. You have to be able to get the water to the top. So other things that happen along with this are fatigue because of lack of blood flow, weakness, muscles aren't going to be working optimally, dizziness, boggy veins. So I personally have had issues with veins in my neck that will get boggy and thick and big, and also in my legs and my thighs, where they just get like heavy and big veins, and kind of makes me want to black out when that happens, as well as some digestive issues. I once went 4 months without a bowel movement because my brain was not sending the signal to my digestive system to digest the food. And so I was not having any stool, and I was somehow losing weight along with that. And I was eating, and also there have been periods where my food would still look like food whenever I eliminated it because my body wasn't producing the enzymes and the chemicals needed to digest the food to create stool. And I would often have pain in my abdomen that would be debilitating, as if a wire brush were being rubbed in my gut, nausea, because liver, gallbladder wasn't working correctly, even ulcer symptoms, burning in the pit of my stomach, all types of digestive issues. Another thing that I had dealt with a lot, and sometimes I'll still get this, but not as much as I used to. Most of my life I dealt with heat sensitivity. I would feel so bad in the heat and humidity. I would get extremely dizzy, fatigued, tired. I wouldn't sweat, even though it'd be 100, 110 degrees in Texas where I grew up and where I live now. I wouldn't sweat, and so I would black out or get dizzy or feel really, really bad. And then sometimes I would be in cold climates, like when I lived in Colorado, and it'd be 30 degrees outside, and I was sweating profusely. And there was a time when I lived there in Colorado that I would even put ice packs in my clothing, and it's freezing outside, but I was so hot. So it's a dysfunction of that nervous system, that automatic nervous system that is supposed to be telling our body to regulate our temperature. But in dysautonomia, sometimes things can actually happen backwards. So if you have that, know that that could be dysautonomia. Something else that I've experienced is air hunger, where I would literally have to take deep breaths to try to get oxygen and try to get it to my brain, and I would just breathe in and feel like I was hungry for air, and I needed to try really hard to get enough air. Another thing is body pain, probably because of air hunger and not getting enough oxygen and not getting all the nutrients from my food. Lots of muscle pain, joint pain, autoimmune symptoms. I had, it's a different conversation, but I had all the symptoms of MS, and I'll share what has really helped me with that. And also just all types of symptoms that didn't seem to have a cause, just so many vague symptoms. So I was diagnosed with dysautonomia in 2009 by a cardiologist, and the main thing that he did was a tilt test. So a tilt test, they affix you to a table, lean you back, and I think it's 65 degrees, and they're checking your vital signs and checking all of the your pulse, your how much you're sweating, and your heart rate, and they want to see how your nervous system reacts. Well, when they did that to me, I felt like I was gonna die. And then they put nitroglycerin under my tongue to check and see, and yeah, I felt awful the rest of that day. So that was a positive for the dysautonomia. And the cardiologist who diagnosed me told me that I should never take any over-the-counter medication or any kind of medication, because those types of medications do affect the heart. And with dysautonomia, some people are at increased risk of congestive heart failure, and some of those medications have been shown to possibly be related to increased incidence of congestive heart failure. So he told me to stay away from all the over-the-counter anti-inflammatory, the NSAIDs, and he told me to never have alcohol again in my life. I already knew that I felt bad when I drink alcohol, very low tolerance, and he also told me to do yoga. And so I actually found yoga through this cardiologist and through this dysautonomia diagnosis. And quite honestly, yoga is the only thing that ever really helped me to regulate my nervous system for years. And I did feel much better, and I haven't been doing it for a while. It's something that I am planning to get back into quite soon. Actually, I have a class that I'm going to start teaching, so that's going to be good, because it's important to do it correctly. And when I say correctly, I mean for someone who has orthostatic hypotension and feels like they're going to black out when they stand up, because if you do a lot of rapid movements or forward bends or inversions and then you get up quickly, you might black out or you might get dizzy. It could lead to a dangerous situation. So I have learned what works for me, and practice a yoga that's very slow, intentional, without all those forward bends that would cause me to get dizzy whenever I would come up. So another thing that would happen, and people notice, they would tell me a lot, is I get white when I get that low blood pressure. And sometimes my blood pressure would fall without even standing for a long, without even sitting and standing. My blood pressure sometimes will just go really, really low. And so all the blood would leave my face and get really pale and pasty. So besides yoga, something that I've found that did help some is meditation and deep breathing exercises. At some point I'll make a video on meditation and explain what my version of meditation is and what has helped me. And besides those things, just the yoga and meditation, staying away from alcohol, staying away from medications, what has really helped me more than anything is I discovered the carnivore diet, which is something I thought, I always believed that people need some meat medicinally, but I always looked at meat as kind of a condiment for people. And before I found the carnivore diet, I was vegetarian, I was vegan for a while, and I was getting sicker and sicker and sicker, and the dysautonomia was really bad, blacking out, feeling so weak, and I just was getting worse and worse. And whenever I decided that I had tried everything else and I might as well give the carnivore lifestyle a try, I was very ill. I was having episodes where I'd be in bed for 3 weeks at a time, unable to get up, and fevers for those 3 weeks, able to eat one strawberry at a time, one strawberry a day sometimes. And the dysautonomia was compounding all of this and all of these issues in my body. And as soon as I stopped eating vegetables, everything in my body started changing. I kept eating fruit, but I stopped eating the vegetables, and immediately I started sleeping, because that's something else that had happened. I just couldn't sleep for years. I had a very hard time sleeping. But as soon as I cut the vegetables out of my diet, my body started to heal. And turns out that vegetables have a lot of plant toxins in them that are naturally occurring in the plants, that are their defense mechanisms, and some people are really sensitive, such as oxalates. And turns out that I'm one of these people who's super sensitive, and whenever I cut them out of my diet, the pain started leaving my body. I stopped having the blackouts, which were actually absence seizures, where I would when I would totally zone out. That's what I, eventually learned that's what those were a type of seizure in my brain. And I don't get those anymore. The only time I have anything like that, or difficulty sleeping, or extreme pain in my body, or even the pain that I had in my feet, MS type symptoms, autoimmune type symptoms, the only time I have anything is if I eat a plant product, which still blows my mind. And it's completely changed my life, saved my life, and given me a life that I've never actually had before, because I have suffered with so much in my nervous system and so much body pain my whole life. I have 9 herniated discs in my spine from accidents that I've had over the years, and I don't even have back pain anymore. I don't get debilitating headaches anymore. And I personally focus on ruminant meat, which is red meat. Ruminants are animals that have multiple rumen. They have 4 rumen rather than stomachs, like cows and deer and lamb, red meat, buffalo. So the reason why I think why the red meat is better for me and better for people with sensitive systems is because the ruminants, those four stomachs are four processing plants that the food has to go through to be able to be cleaned out, and any toxins that are in the food can be eliminated before it's deposited into the meat of the animal, and so it's cleaner. And I notice that whenever I eat only red meat, which Michaela Peterson coined the phrase lion diet, you could look that up, just red meat, salt, and water. I notice that whenever I eat just red meat, I do have a lot less pain in my body. I feel a lot better. However, I need a little bit of sugar, and I do that through dairy. I eat a little bit of plain high fat, high protein yogurt. I find that if I eat about a cup, maybe a little less, half a cup to a cup of plain high protein yogurt a day, then I just feel amazing. I sleep great. It gives me just enough carbohydrate, which is it's like 7 grams of carbs or sugars or something like that. It's super, super low. But it's just enough to give me what I need to regulate my hormones and to make me feel well. So that's what I have found works for me. I also eat some eggs and some pork because pork is high in thiamine, which is vitamin B1, an important B vitamin, which actually in dysautonomia is important. And I've read studies where it actually helps with the symptom of boggy veins. So that's something that I'm going to be trying coming up. I'm going to increase my B vitamins, especially B1, and I'm going to see if I notice any differences in my body doing that, because I have not specifically focused on thiamine in the past. And thiamine also, for anybody who's been an alcoholic or consumed lots of alcohol, it's also a common deficiency, which I have not, but anything that you've done that depletes nutrients is most likely going to deplete those B vitamins. So I am going to focus on that some. I don't eat a lot of chicken. Most people who do carnivore are fine with chicken, but it's high in glutamate, it's high in omega-6 fatty acids, and I have pain when I eat it. So my nervous system still, I think part of it is that I'm not getting the signals to digest all of these amino acids properly, and I'm still healing. I've been mostly carnivore for just over a year, and I got off vegetables just over a year ago. I've been off of fruit for about 8 months, and more strict since Christmas. So we're in June. So the last 6-7 months I've been more strict, and every time that I just try to add something back in, because I would really like to be able to eat some fruit, every time I add something in, then I have a symptom. I ate some cherries 3 nights ago, and then I had a horrible night's sleep. I ate 9 cherries, and my body just isn't allowing me. And so that tells me that my immune system is not healed. I'm hoping that I can get 100% healing eventually, because I've already seen at least a 70% change, literally 70-75% change in my health since getting rid of fruits, vegetables, grains, oils, and I focus on fats. Oils come from plants, fats come from animals, and so I don't touch an oil. I only eat fats, so lard, tallow, butter, and I find that the butter has helped me, probably because it's high in butyric acid. Butyric acid, butter, it's called butter because it's high in butyric acid, and it's really important. Even our own guts create butyric acid because it feeds the good bacteria in our guts, and so eating butter is beneficial for the flora in the gut. Knowing that I think that that's probably why my body does so well with butter, where some other fats, even if I do too much tallow, too much beef fat, liquidy fat, especially if it's hot and liquidy, I might not feel so well, but the butter, I feel great. If I have a heavy cream latte, I'm gonna get some digestive symptoms, but if I do a butter latte, lots of butter and blend it, and it's like a latte, I don't get the symptoms. So the only thing I can think of is that might be because of the butyric acid in the butter. So that is where I am right now with all the dysautonomia stuff. I really haven't had many issues other than whenever I do something I shouldn't. Actually, about 2 weeks ago, I had some neck pain. I've been working way too much, burning my candle at both ends. I have very low stress tolerance with all of this. About 14 years ago, I say I divorced stress. I have very little stress in my life, and that has helped huge. I literally can't handle stress. So I've had a lot of stress, good stress, but stress, with a lot of work and a lot of changes in my life recently. And I had some neck pain, probably because I'm a chiropractor and I'm pushing down on people, lifting heavy people, doing a lot with my body, and I hadn't been doing that for a long time. And now I'm in a situation where I'm in a busy practice. And so my neck was really hurting one day, and I decided to take a naproxen sodium, a blue gel cap, and 30 minutes later, I went into a seizure, and I hadn't had that in a very long time. And that's the only thing, well, the stress that had built up and that medication. So that was kind of a wake-up call that I need to work a little bit lighter, spread my days apart, have more time off, and to not take medications, and to do what I need to take care of my body so I don't need the medications. So that is what I wanted to share with you today. I hope that you're able to at least find some hope in my journey, and I hope we continue to heal together.